welcome back to Mining Stock Daily. Ian Wagner here with a corporate update from our friends at Tudor Gold. Tudor is a gold developer in BC's Golden Triangle. They trade on the TSX Venture under the symbol TUD and on the OTC under the symbol TDRFF. And today we are joined by President and CEO Joe Ovsenek. Joe, good to see you again. Welcome back to the podcast.
Great to see you, Ian. I've been looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And I would note for listeners, we've covered the Tudor story for quite some time now. So anybody new to Tudor, I would encourage you to go back and listen to previous episodes to learn more about Goldstorm and the rest of Tree Creek. But today, drill results came out this morning from your Perfectstorm zone, part of your Tree Creek project. 4 holes. A new porphyry system discovered as well as some epithermal system. You know, I'll let you kind of fill in the context here. Talk about what you guys drilled. This is their first time drilling here, I think, in a couple of years, right? There was previous drillings in, I think, 23 and 21, but this is the first time you've drilled it, I think, since you've joined the company. So talk about what you were hoping to find and what you found.
Well, you know, stepping back, looking big picture here, we have a Goldstorm deposit, which is a couple kilometers away, you know, big world-class gold, copper, some silver deposit. And so we're advancing that. We have a PEA underway on that, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. But we also have this highly prospective ground where we have the sulfurites fault running through our property, full length of it. And there's just so much potential on our ground for another big deposit, whether it's 1, maybe 2. There's potentially more. There is a lot of potential for more elephant-sized gold copper deposits. So what we did this year is instead of continuing to expand on Goldstorm, which it's already big, great grade, everything else, we're focusing on engineering at Goldstorm. And while that engineering is ongoing, we're taking a hard look at the rest of the ground. What we'd like to do is define another major deposit, at least come up with a, initial resource. Our target for a maiden resource is a few million to 5 million ounces, but potential to grow bigger. And that's what we're doing. So at Perfectstorm, we had some gold discoveries there in the past, and we've come back in where we're drilling, say, give or take 10,000 meters is the plan right now at Perfectstorm. And we had a nice hit there in 23, another one in 21. So we're following up on those. That's sort of an epithermal gold system. But it's a big system. It's a big area. So what we've done is we're drilling in other spots. And I think the highlight of our news release is we're hitting into a porphyry system, another porphyry system. So this is completely, it's, the closest points between where we are right now and our Goldstorm deposits about 1 kilometer away, completely different system. And again, we're into porphyry. Now, it's early days on that. So, the results, we don't have these long intercepts because we're just, drilling around trying to hone in on where the real meat of the porphyry is. But we've proved now that there is a porphyry there. We always suspected it, but now we've got proof. We've got the porphyry mineralization. We've got gold, copper. We've got molybdenum. So if you're trying to look for what's a relevant comparison, well, you look at what's sitting down southwest of us at Seabridge Gold with their deposits. They're sitting on the same sort of mineralization: gold, copper, some silver, molybdenum. And so we're into one of these porphyries. And I think that's the real excitement here. Lots of room to make this grow and become into another elephant of a deposit.
Yeah, and just kind of looking over your land package there, sort of CBS is off to that northeast of Goldstorm. Perfectstorm sits southwest, and yeah, to your point, you go further. What, about 4 kilometers southwest? You get into that Seabridge KSM. So certainly a strong looking trend there. And you mentioned molybdenum, so I think that's important. And looking at this, it looks like you've got 2 zones sort of within that Perfectstorm zone: the PSP, which is the porphyry, and the PSE, which is your E for epithermal, right? Perfectstorm
Correct.
epithermal. So some of the numbers you released, I'll just kind of highlight a couple of them, right? Hole 15 of your Porphyry, 4.59 grams per ton gold, 0.67 grams per ton silver over 10.5 meters, starting 105 meters down hole. Hole 16, 1.23 grams per ton, gold over 6 meters, and then that 0.2% copper, 42 parts per million molybdenum. So good numbers. How are you thinking about, I guess, just the follow-up, right? What do you do there? Do you mentioned that 10,000 meters. It's early August. Do you still have, I think the press release states, but do you still have those 2 drills on site there at Perfectstorm? And are you focusing on the Porphyry or the epithermal? And kind of how do you drill out before that drill season closes, I guess, in about 6 weeks?
It's a good point. And it's a tough one because, you have to get a lot done in not a lot of time. So right now we have 1 drill on each zone where we're looking to push and really get a strong understanding of them. The Porphyry zone, where, the PSP zone, where we're pushing on trying to find more the heart of the Porphyry. So we've got those drills going, that drill turning now, and all goes well. I expect we'll be able to drill up where we are, if all goes well, up to mid-September, before we have to pull back because, you keep drilling longer, but it just gets prohibitively more expensive, right? You're fighting the weather and, water freezing up and everything else. So mid-September there, and then the other holes on the PSC zone, the epithermal zone. And like we want to come up with a resource, as I mentioned. So we're trying to get enough drilling in to get that continuity between drill holes so that we can show between the geology and the drill results, that we can put a nice continuous, a lens together that we can put model around it and come up with a resource.
So would you drill a few, wider spaced holes or and then essentially come up with a new model for drilling out then in the spring, summer of next year, and then try to put the resource out? Or how do you kind of think about, what is the cadence of the activity needed for you to kind of get where you want to get with these?
Well, the way I like to do it is, well, for me, but we've got a team here, and so we end up, hashing it out between ourselves, how, among
That's you and
ourselves,
Ken,
how
right?
we would do it. Well, there's a few
I
others.
mean, there's a few, obviously, not just you and Ken, but
there's a few cooks in the kitchen here.
Sure.
So, look, I like the idea of the wide space drilling, coming up with an inferred resource just to give an idea. Okay, where are the bounds of this? Let's do some big step outs. Try to put our hands around. Okay, what's the shape? Then come back later on and infill more and really fill it out. But in my view, if we can get enough drilling in, it's as I say, it's weather dependent and how well the drilling goes. I would put out an inferred resource based on this drilling, assuming we can get sufficient drilling to do it this year. Yeah.
Okay, so we could look to see that here even later calendar 2026.
But potentially, yeah. If we can get the drilling in that we want to accomplish, again, we're at the whims of nature, and so winter comes early. It just makes it tough. But
yeah,
so far so good. How's that?
That is so far so good. Okay, well, let's move on to some of your stuff. I know you mentioned the engineering's happening at Goldstorm, and we spoke in late May, I think, about metallurgy. You have targeted a PEA there for end of summer. This summer, is that still on track? And one thing in specific, I know you've been consistent about having that capex come in at what we'd call a manageable number in the $1 to $1.5 billion range. Are you still kind of confident in that, or what are you seeing?
Well, it's still a little early on that. We've had some slippage on the timeline. It's the engineering firms are all busy, and it's be able to get the crews working on your project. But we're still pushing hard to have it out this summer. And when I say summer, I'm taking as much of September in the summer as we can do it, right up to the.
If the temperatures are 50 Fahrenheit and above, we're calling that summer.
Yeah. So we'll take it into September, summer, but we're still pushing to get it then. And so, little early days, but as I say, that I'd like to try to see keep it in, to build a mine for, around a billion and a half. That would be ideal. We'll
Hmm.
see whether we can hold to that. With the inflation that's gone on out in the world, but as they say, so far so good, and we'll keep pushing hard, and hopefully we're talking mid to late September again, and we're talking results from PEA.
I would love nothing more than to see you at Beaver Creek and be able to talk about, Perfectstorm Porphyry over a beer, PEA over a beer. That sounds great to me.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page. There we
All
go.
right. All right. Listen, I'll ask you about a couple other just outstanding items that are just kind of on the Tudor to-do list. So one of them being just ongoing conversations with Seabridge about their tunnels and the um, I guess permit system or just the negotiations there. Any color you can add there? Have those conversations started? What's happening there?
Well, I can't really talk much about it because but
Legal.
all I can say is, you know, Tudor believes that the best resolution is to sit down, work out something that allows us to build our mine, allows Seabridge to build their mine. We're, big fans of them being successful. I hope they're fans of us being successful. And so, I think that, you put that together. I do think we'll get a resolution to this. I can't say when, but we're quite, I would say, cautiously optimistic that we get something resolved and not too far in the future. How's that?
Hmm. Okay, and then same question, kind of on the ownership. Kind of moving, consolidating ownership of Treaty Creek from that 80% up to a full 100%. How are those conversations progressing?
They're progressing. I wouldn't say we're setting any records on speed here, but look, we're talking. I think we can all see the benefits of, you know, putting 80 and 20 together. It's going to be a better situation than just keeping them, as disparate parts.
Hmm.
So I hate to say a timeline on it, but I am cautiously optimistic there as well on unitizing the ownership of the joint venture, which again I think that will give a big boost to uh, Tudor stock, and
Yeah.
if we're giving stock off to Tudor Resources or shareholders, well then to the benefit to them as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's truly a situation where 2 plus 2 is worth more than 4.
Okay. Um, Talking about valuation, you guys have kind of seen yours fallen off a little bit as well as the broader gold price. Now, gold's certainly up today and yesterday, but also over the last 6 weeks, copper has been up, significantly. I think we hit all-time high yesterday. Have you been surprised at maybe the valuation, or maybe a different question would just be kind of what's your message to investors who, want to know if this has torque to the gold price, the copper price, things like that.
Oh, look at the copper is well, it's great for the mining industry as a whole. We have, as you know, we have a number of billions of pounds of copper at our Goldstorm deposit, which will be included in our, our PEA. So look at, I think it all adds. It just makes a great environment for mining. So we're very positive on that. But yeah, look, when I look to shareholders, I think this is a big year for us. We're pushing
Mhm.
hard on a PEA. We're, as I say, cautiously optimistic on resolving issues with Seabridge and allowing us both to proceed without, all the negative noise in the background,
Mhm.
as well as, coming up with 100% unitizing the joint venture interest for Treaty Creek in Tudor Gold. And I tell you, those three are big milestones for us. And I think once we get through them, it's going to be a world of different position to where we are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just note that, yeah, you guys do have copper concentrate, gold concentrate, silver concentrate as all as
Oh,
part of your plan, your mine plan up there for Goldstorm.
yeah, and and once we get our hit our milestones that we want to hit, people will be able to start focusing on the fundamentals of the project, which is it's going to be a significant gold copper producer in a great jurisdiction.
Joe, I wonder, I mean, I know this is a little early, so I mean, I'm not asking you to make any forward-looking statements, but in terms of financing that CapEx, with all of the attention around critical metals, critical minerals, is there any thought to or seeking kind of a government support or export-import bank loans, really kind of debt fueling some of that CapEx? Or is that something that's reserved more for rare earths or something else? Like
Oh,
for people who hear the terms but don't necessarily know how they apply to gold and silver and copper, maybe you can add some color there.
look at copper and silver are both big critical minerals, and despite there's the rare earths have their uses in that, but copper is used like almost everywhere. It is an incredible metal, and it's how many places you find it turning up. You find copper turning up, so it is a great, and we will definitely be as we move into that high area where we're looking to finance construction. It's a ways away,
Yep.
but as we move into that area, we will look at where are the best sources of financing, and you can bet if the government's willing to hand some money out to advance the project, we're happy to take their money. We're
I do think, I hope sometimes they
yeah.
expect that money back, but,
Well, that's fine. We don't mind paying it back. It's, often it's a case where you just need that first bit of financing. I think in this market, I don't personally have any doubts about being able to raise the money to build a mine at Treaty Creek. But, it's just nice to have that nice lead order. And if it's the government, people look and say, wow, that's solid, right?
Yeah.
Even though the government's finances, may not be the best, but nobody looks at that.
No, but they know, okay, at least they've done due
They're good
diligence.
for it.
They're good for it, exactly. Okay, well, listen, Joe, this has been great. This is a good catch up. I think we will look to catch up as more drill results come back from Perfectstorm, and as you kind of move through some of these catalysts. So yeah, just say thank you and appreciate you coming by today.
Yeah, no, thanks. Again, I always enjoy it, and I look forward to chatting with you about that PEA.
Yes, absolutely. Me too. That is Joe Ovsenek, CEO of Tudor Gold. They trade on the TSX Venture under the symbol TUD and on the OTC under the symbol TDRFF. The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.